Hey guys, good morning. Coming to you again from my bathroom because I think the audio is a lot better here. But something I want to talk about today, post workout, feeling good, a little bit sweaty. Um, I was listening to this really interesting podcast about how sometimes we idolize like the fitness industry and our bodies like as women, and like how body dysmorphia is really just like a distortion on your eyes, and it gets even spiritual. And it was just like a really great conversation. I'm going to put that in the description below. But it really just made me think about how everything is so spiritual, like whether you believe it or not. Like there is the spiritual realm and it affects the physical way of life, and it's a lot to get into. I have my own religious beliefs, but I definitely believe in God. Praise God. It made me think, basically. And if you're somebody who's struggling with anger, and or you have these feelings of resentment and bitterness that kind of come back and they go away and they come back, and it's just something that has like a stronghold on your life, meaning it's something that you deal with time and time again. It's just like an anger. And if you're like me, like being angry is unnatural. Like for me, there's nothing worse than feeling angry because it makes me feel like really not like myself, and it just feels wrong, and I don't want to live that way. And I've personally seen people that I love, you know, be driven crazy because they are holding on to so much anger and resentment and bitterness and pain from the past, and just replaying those incidents over and over. It could be like 10 years from now and they're still thinking of a situation that has long ago passed, but it's because they've let the spirit of anger and resentment and bitterness create a stronghold in their life. And if you're somebody who struggles with that, then this message is for you. So there's workarounds to dealing with anger. There's obviously programs and professionals that are better suited to talk about this topic than I am, but I'm going to share some things that I've learned because of the, pain that I've personally experienced in dealing with my own anger and in seeing other people's anger kind of drive them nuts, and they became very toxic to deal with, and I would have to separate myself from people that I love because they have let this evil energy take over their life, these evil spirits. Anger is an evil spirit. So if you're somebody who's dealing with this and wants to get rid of it, aside from prayer and guidance from God, which nothing will ever replace, no advice you ever hear from a self-help person or a person on the internet can never replace the power that God can display in your life when you want it deeply enough and when you pray for Him and guidance. But this is a simple trick that you can use to help you deal with that kind of problem, and it's to start seeing people as spirits instead of just people. So recognize that when you're talking to somebody, you're also talking to the spirit within them. You're talking to, or the spirits within them. So for example, if someone does me wrong, I actually was in a situation like this not too long ago, where say you have an offense, right? Somebody offends you, somebody does something to hurt you. Instead of getting angry at that person, you have to recognize that inside of them, they have spirits that are attacking your spirit, if that makes sense. And it has nothing to do with the person, it's just the spirits that they're allowing to act through them. So, recognizing that will help you not hold that person accountable and be angry at that person. It's more useful to recognize that we're really struggling against like energies and spirits. Once you recognize people as spirits and you recognize that spirits are acting through people, you won't necessarily feel anger toward them anymore, because as much as you don't want to be affected by those spirits that cause you to rise to anger, you also want that person to be free of the spirits in them that are provoking and creating chaos not only in your life but probably internally in that person's life. You know what I mean? So it's just a different way of reframing anger. Is to just look at everybody as a spirit, and when somebody does something wrong or offends you, just look at that as like a spirit of that thing trying to attack your spirit. So for example, if somebody takes out their anger on me, it's a spirit of anger working through them to attack my spirit. It's not them. If they so choose and are willing and decide that they don't want to let anger work through them again, then they'll work on that issue separately in, psychological way, in a spiritual way, whatever it is they have to do to rid themselves of that emotion. They can do that inner work on themselves. But for your own sake, to release anger and to release resentment and to release bitterness, stop blaming people for the things that they do. Every human is imperfect, and just start recognizing that, sometimes it's really like a spiritual thing, and spirits are acting through people to, cause you harm, unfortunately. So that's something that's been helping me release anger, because, sometimes it's just not personal. It's like on a spiritual level, things that are happening within that person and within me, and it's more of like that kind of conflict. You can decide every day what spirits, what energy you're going to lead with, and letting yourself be provoked to anger or be provoked to resentment or bitterness because of another person's actions is a choice, and you can choose not to let that happen. So, hope that made sense. I just feel like anger is such a demon, and I don't want to see people let that take over their life, because the more anger and the more bitterness you hold on to, you really will just drive yourself away from people you love. You'll, create messy dynamic relationships. You'll end up feeling alone, isolated. I've seen it happen many times, and the solution to this is to just not let anger become a stronghold in your life, or resentment or bitterness, or holding on to any offense that any person has caused you. So let me know if this made sense. This is more of like a spiritual take on managing anger and dismantling the ways that it shows up in our life. Of course I can do story times and stuff, so let me know if you want to see more about this topic. But thank you for watching. Back to my workout. Subscribe.